Mainstream media is also happy to largely ignore the president's soaring new approval rating. They're also playing down America's record-setting economy. The unemployment rate is now an incredibly low 3.9%. Joining us now with more is counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway. Good evening, Kellyanne.
Good evening. Thank you for having me, and congratulations on your bestseller book. Amazing.
Thank you, Kellyanne. Listen, what we heard when over the last couple days was stunning enough, but the reaction by the press to Sarah Sanders and the reaction by the press when they are now saying that everyone close to the president knows that he's not well, like Mika Brzezinski, and the claim that the president is not well by Chris Matthews. Do they really think those 10,000 people cheering in Pennsylvania and Wilkes-Barre were stupid and couldn't figure out if this president were smart with the program or not with the program?
Well, that's the thing, Judge. All across the country, and I travel frequently on behalf of the White House, and you see the president out in the hustings quite a bit now. He'll go to his third rally this week, tomorrow in Ohio. Right. He was in Florida and Pennsylvania already this week, and he does that for a very specific reason. He takes the case directly to the people, cuts out the middleman, and let's face it, the middleman doesn't like it. Cuts out the middleman when he communicates with all of us at the very same time what's on his mind at any given moment through his vast social media platform, cuts out the middleman. And I don't want to lose sight of how much affection and appreciation there is in this country for this president and his policies. Yeah. People know, they feel, and they're living exactly what you just said. A booming economy. The predictions were doom. The reality is boom. And people know it. I went through the crowd last night in Pennsylvania. They are there because they are appreciative of having options in this job market. They're appreciative of having more money in their pockets and their bank accounts. It gives them freedom and confidence and buoyancy. And it won't matter who tells them that that's not the truth. If they see it in their 401ks, they see it in their paychecks, they see it in their home values. The other thing is, I know there's a lot of hand-wringing about, are the media biased and this, that, and the other. I mean, is the ocean wet? But the fact is that the bias of selectivity is the one that I've been talking about since the campaign, certainly through the transition administration, and it's this. You can look at bias coverage, but I think what's really harming America is what I refer to as incomplete coverage. The omission of all of the stories that are actually news you can use, details and facts and figures that people need to know as Americans. So the administration and the media each have vast platforms. Ours is much bigger, frankly, which is probably also bothering some of these other folks and their ratings and their revenues. But we have responsibilities to make sure people get information. Let me just interrupt you for a second. I want to interrupt you. And they're just not doing that.
They're not doing it. But, you know, when you talk about what's going on in this country, I mean, forget about the media that, you know, is just totally focused against Donald Trump. And I want to ask you, I want to get on another subject in a minute. But the animal spirits that are going on, the instincts in this country with the economy, when the president talked about Valley Forge and the role of steel in Pennsylvania, I mean, he is integrating the two issues, the economy and, you know, a patriotism. And I thought it was just brilliant the way he did it. But I want to go on to this woman with the New York Times who's going on the editorial board of the New York Times, Sarah Jung. You know, most journalists operate under the, you know, the guidance of the editorial board. And this woman is anti-cop. She's anti-white. She's anti-men. Everything that she said is explosive in her tweets. And yet the New York Times is supporting her on their editorial board. So has the gray lady flipped her lid? What are they doing?
Well, it's a little shocking that the bias with this particular writer would be so flagrant and blatant. I mean, usually they try to hide it a little bit better. I'm surprised she still has a job, only because you can't say on the one hand, Janine, that this is an opinion writer, she's just expressing her opinion. On the other hand, you and I can sit here with hardly even thinking about it and come up with 12, 15, 20 instances where people lost their jobs over as much or, frankly, Less than that, less than that. And everyone knows it. And I do want to shine a light, in case the viewers and the listeners missed it, on Mark Caputo, a writer at Politico, who I knew years ago. I used to do polling for the Miami Herald and the Tampa Tribune at the time. I knew him years ago in Florida as a reporter. He now reports for Politico. He referred to the Trump supporters in Florida as, if you put them all together, you would have a full set of teeth. He said that. And then when people attacked him and asked him to retract that on social media, he said, he doubled down on it and said, oh, did I hurt their feelings? He called them garbage people. And then he said, did I hurt the garbage people's feelings? Let me go get a fainting couch. He still has his job. So this is the level of discourse. And let me tell you something. Not everybody in the media is the same. Not everybody in the industry is the same.
Right.
But there is this growing sameness within what is covered and what is excluded from the coverage that is harming. But it's just shocking to me that these people still have a job in what is called reporting. It's not shocking to me that the media have about a 17% approval rating. Theirs is going down, staying the same, where the president's is actually rising, as you said. And to not cover the repatriation and the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, meeting our fallen heroes as their remains came to Hawaii this week from North Korea. That is derelict of duty for anybody who calls themselves a reporter. They should stop talking about themselves and stop lecturing us and start covering the news.
Is about trashing the president and trashing the people who elected him president, and that's dangerous. But when you hear about George Soros coming in,
it won't. We lived through a campaign. It won't work. You know what? We prefer positive candidates in this country. Since 1960, all the way through 2016, with the exception of 1972, this electorate has always chosen the presidential candidate who they saw as more positive, optimistic, and just sunny.
So knowing what you know and all the stats that we have, and the president first term, historically, his party loses midterm. What do you think is going to happen in 2018? You're the pollster here.
Well, we know that, sure, we know the historic numbers. We know that Obama lost 63 seats. That was a shellacking. Clinton lost 54 seats in control of the House. But they had also taken actions that were outside the mainstream. They didn't give historic tax cuts, historic deregulation, try to bring peace in dark corners around the world, try to denuclearize the Korean Peninsula.
For this president?
Well, I do, and I'll tell you, I do. We can't. The one thing that we're up against that we cannot control are 42 Republican House retirements. That's devastating.
Yeah, that
but this is a president that doesn't follow the trends. He makes new trends. He doesn't repeat history. He's made history, and he will be out there doing his level best, as will the vice president.
So you
and
think
even
he's going to make history in the midterms?
Go out there.
All right, Kellyanne Conway, thanks.
Absolutely. And by the way, nobody's predicting 60 seat losses. Have you noticed? They're not doing that. And I think we'll pick up in the Senate as well and get Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. Thank you.
All right, Kellyanne, you got it all in.
Joining us now from the Trump Organization. He's the son of the president, Eric Trump. How are you?
That was such an incredible monologue.
Thank you. Sorry to make you sit through this. Look, you dealt with this in the campaign. You deal with this every day. You see they lie about your father. They twist, they turn, but they wake up and feign all this moral outrage. I would think as a son it's hard, but you also know they're lying.
Yeah. The hypocrisy is unlike anything you can ever imagine, right? You have them attacking Barron. You have them attacking Tiffany. You have them attacking our entire family. You have them out there spewing garbage every single day on CNN and all these other networks about my father, right? Covering nonsense while forgetting about the fact that our economy grew at 4.1%, that we have the lowest unemployment in history, that jobs are coming back to the country, that the stock market's at record high. They forget all about that.
Defeat ISIS, got out of Iran. Jerusalem's the capital of Israel. Oh, and little Rocket Man's not firing rockets.
So they spew nonsense all day, and then little Jim Acosta gets, belittled at a rally, and all of a sudden, I'm holier than. I mean, it's really incredible.
Without detail, has your family been threatened?
I've been threatened. Our family's been threatened. All of us. We've all had white powder show up at our house, right?
By the way, I had an assistant that had to one day, she was quarantined, this poor assistant, for 8 hours because of that.
And by the way, there's no moral outrage about that, right? When Ben Shapiro goes to Berkeley to try and give a speech, right, and there's protests in the street, there's no moral outrage about that. Let the man have freedom of speech. Let him go out there and speak to people who want to listen to him. But when it happens to them, when they're offended by a message, all of a sudden...
Did you see what they said about Melania, a Democratic candidate, this week? What they've said about both your sisters.
And you know what? You know how much I was reported? That comment on Melania, which was one of the truly most disgusting things.
Yeah.
You know what they said about that? Nothing. You know who was the only person who actually really, came to Melania's ban? was Laura Ingraham. Laura came out and she was punching and
Excuse
she was
me.
punching.
Hello.
And you, obviously.
Okay, hello, I'm here.
But you know what?
Yeah.
No one else in the media did anything
it's hard.
about it, and it's
By
disgusting.
the way, she is the loveliest woman.
It's true.
Your little brother is a great kid.
Yep.
I met. Why does he have to turn on a television set with a decapitated, bloody, severed head of your father?
Yep.
And by the way, that person was employed by CNN at the time.
And no one ever says anything about it. And then when a couple people chant, CNN sucks. All right, CNN sucks because of this biased coverage and everything else.
By the way, Eric,
all of a sudden everybody starts crying. It's really incredible, Sean.
CNN sucks.
Yeah, I agree.
The problem with them, and I tried to give them advice, of course they're not going to listen, is I don't even think, it's sort of like I was watching Peter Strzok that day, and he seems like he believes he's a super patriot, that he knew better than the American people. We're going to stop him. We're going to have an insurance policy. We need to get to the bottom of that, and of course we will eventually. But it's sort of like the media. They never thought he could win. They mocked that he was running. He beat 16 other people. He beat the Hillary Clinton machine, even with a fix-in and an investigation into her, and won against him,
and
which you didn't know about.
Now they downplay it. Now they downplay it. You know, it's really amazing. During the campaign, my father said, you know what, my biggest goal, if I could achieve 3% GDP growth, I would absolutely love it, right? So now he's at 4.1% GDP growth, right? And they're not even touting that. They were mocking him when he said he could achieve 3. He'll never achieve 3. The New York Times came out and said he'll never achieve 3% GDP growth. Economists think he's lying about that. Then he achieves 4.1% growth, and they don't even compliment him on doing it. I mean,
I'm actually
they forget
convinced
about it.
if he cured cancer,
They
they'd
wouldn't
still
give him
hate
credit. No, they wouldn't give him credit. Of course not.
Okay, so now the question is, it seems that the people are now aware of what the media's agenda is. So to me, this midterm is about the 6 items that I just mentioned. You are even working on 2020 already. But we got an election in 96 days. What do you say to those people that maybe only go out for presidential elections and there's a lower turnout in midterm election years?
Well, listen, I think we're going to do very, very well. And I think this country, by every quantifiable measure, is doing better today than it's ever done before. People are seeing that. And I think, listen, you started the opening monologue with the fact that he's above 50% in the polls right now, right?
I think he polls low, too.
His highest ever. Yeah, and I think you're right. There's probably extra factor in there. Our economy is doing incredible. Our stock markets are off the chart. He's actually defending this country from NATO, from getting ripped off.
Trade deals.
Unemployment, trade deals, everything. The deal that he just struck with the EU last week. I mean,
imagine you're in a position and things are getting better, and for when America does well, the Democrats and the left-wing media, they're mad because they're proven wrong.
They should be mad. They should be mad because right now they have nothing to run on. They have no leadership. They have no message. They don't stand for anything. He's doing well by every quantifiable measure. So the only thing that they can do is, oh, he's a racist, he's a sexist, he's a this, he's a that, right? The same soundbite that they've used for the last 3 years that hasn't worked at all.
They've used it for the 30 years.
They have nothing. What do they stand
TV.
for? They stand for what? High taxes? Is that what they stand for? They stand for
the crumbs.
Getting rid of,
open borders, Obamacare.
Open borders, getting rid of ICE, brave men and women who are fighting for the safety of our families, of our children every single day. Is that what they're going for? They're going to lose that all day long, Sean. They're going to lose that all day long.
Great to see you again. Congrats on the baby, too. I saw a picture. Very cute.
Thank you. Thank you. He's a good little
Looks like cute, Mom.
Good.
Yeah, I'm teasing.